Morning. Glad that I'm out this morning. Extremely glad that Jesus is out this morning. If you ought to pray for me, I'll talk to you just a little bit this morning out of the book. If you don't pray for me, I'll come back there. I need all the help I can get. And He's all the help I need. Praise the Lord. Appreciate you coming out this morning. And like we said to start with, we need to continue to pray for those that are out sick. And my goodness, the devil has been on a tear. But that's his job. That's what he does. We just have to be on a tear with him for Christ, folks. Aren't you glad this morning that we serve a king, that he's already been ahead of us, and he's already provided for not only for our healing, but for our prosperity, for our salvation, everything that we need, he's provided for. And he left us with this book. And I was thinking as I was reading this thing, this is not just, there's no other book like this, folks. This is a living word, and no matter what generation you lived in, this book's for you. It's new every day, and no matter what you're reading, there's a lesson in it for you and I. Some of these stories, it's in this book is thousands of years old, but there's a lesson in there if we'll take it for you and me. And over in the book of 1 Kings, we find a story of Elijah. You can turn over there if you want to. It's over in the 18th and 19th chapter. It tells about Elijah. We're not going to read, but because it's a familiar story. But God sent Elijah to Israel at a time when Israel had kind of started accepting idol worship in its land. And they worshiped the idol called Baal, B-A-A-L. And they had allowed his temples to be built in the land of Israel. Now, the leadership of Israel still said they were serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they had allowed these temples to be built there, and they had allowed the worship of Baal also. And so Elijah came to them. God sent Elijah there. And you know the story, how that he challenged the prophets of Baal. There was 450 of them. And they was going to make an offering. They was going to offer their offering to Baal, and he was going to offer an offering unto his God. And he said, we won't put any fire under it. So whichever God answers by fire, he's God. And of course, the Lord lit Elijah's fire, and the people rose up with Elijah and killed the 450 prophets of Baal. But Elijah challenged them with an epic challenge. He said this when he was bringing all this about. He said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, then follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. He said, if Baal's God, just follow him. But if God's God, follow him. But what Elijah was saying was, get off the fence. Make up your mind what's what. But the thing that can be missed in this story, folks, just by reading the story in the Bible, if we don't go back and do some studying, Baal was the chief god of the Canaanite people. Now, all of Israel's neighbors were pagan worshipers. And Baal had many names in different places, but it was all the same god. Sometimes they called him Moloch. But Baal was a god that demanded human sacrifice, and he's also a god of fertility, and so they built him great temples in Israel, and they tell me that they had all kind of immoral acts going on in the temple as acts of God. It was acts of worship. It was accepted because they're just worshiping God. They're just God's children like we are. And all kind of lewd and immoral acts was going on in the temples of Baal. And they built a statue of this thing with a wide open mouth. And they would carry their babies out there and put it in the mouth of this iron statue. And it would roll down into the stomach where they had built a fire, and they would offer their children up to Baal as a sacrifice so that Baal could, he was also the god of the environment. Now listen to what I'm telling you. They were sacrificing their children to the god of the environment and fertility, so that Baal would protect the environment. He was the god of rain and of dew and of sunshine. Everything that caused everything to grow, Baal was supposed to be controlling that. So they would roll these children, put their children in the mouth of this thing, and it would roll down into his stomach where the fire was at, and they would sacrifice their children in the name of worship. They would commit all of these immoral acts in the name of worship, and Israel was going along with it. All of Israel didn't serve Baal, but all of Israel was going along with what was happening. Now let me tell you something, folks. Man is a spiritual being. We might think we're doing things our way, but we're not really. We're being driven by some spirit. We will, and we are following after some spirit. And when you see a sudden shift in man's behavior, in man's action, there's a spirit at work there. Everybody didn't just get up one morning and say, let's do this. No, there is a spirit, one way or the other, and the spirit of Baal has grown strong in these last days. How many can remember here when everybody knew that an unborn child was still a child? Then all of a sudden, it was just popularly accepted. Now it's just a group of cells, and you can do away with your child as easy as you can do away with a wart on your hand. It's not really a child anymore. And so we're sacrificing our children to a pagan spirit, to a pagan god. Now, a child could be born alive in abortion. They throw him on a steel table and close the door and let him lay there and die. And hey, nobody, it's just a thing. It's the same. Hey, folks, it's a religion. It's a spirit that has raised up in these last days, and it's called the Spirit of Baal. And Elijah came, and let me tell you something, what God always does. When God starts to work in judgment, the first thing he does is to tear down the idol gods. Now here came Elijah, and it hadn't rained in 3 years and 6 months. And hey, their idol god couldn't cause one drop of rain. The God of rain and of dew hadn't caused one drop of rain in 3 years and 6 months. So Elijah came, and he kind of mocked him. He said, maybe he's asleep, But they were sacrificing their children to a God that would take care of the environment, and he couldn't cause one drop of rain. And folks, now, man has grown so arrogant in this same spirit that we feel like, hey, if we throw money at it, we can save the planet. Have you read Revelations lately? The planet's not saved because, hey, we're destroying it. But it's not driving your SUV, it's destroying the planet. It's a little 3-letter word called S-I-N, sin. But see, the shedding of the innocent blood, killing their children, they didn't feel any guilt about it because, hey, they was worshiping. They didn't feel any guilt about all these immoral acts because, hey, it was just an act of worship. And we got, again, there again. And let me tell you something, folks. Sin is sin. Don't get me wrong on that. Sin is sin. But a few years ago, everybody knew that homosexuality was not a natural thing. It was a deviant practice. Now we've got a guy running for president, doing real good, whose husband comes on stage and kisses him after the debates, folks. And guess what Israel is doing? We're accepting that. We're accepting that. It's the same. We're in the same place again. The spirit of Baal has rose up in the last days again, folks, and he's doing exactly the same thing again. But Elijah came along, and when he came along, his message was this: there will be no rain nor dew except it by word. He was saying, you think you got a God that can cause it to rain? Let him cause it to rain. And hey, how many knows that after 3.5 years, it gets pretty dry, to say the least. To say the least. But Elijah came, challenged the prophets of Baal. They couldn't light the fire. Baal couldn't light the fire. God lit the fire, and then Elijah went up and prayed for rain. And he told him, said, get down off the mountain, lest the rain stop you. So the rain came. God destroyed the idea of what Baal was supposed to be, the first thing he done. And he did it the same way in Egypt. Egypt had all kind of gods. When they had Israel captive, that they worshipped the animals. They even worshipped a bug. They worshipped a tumble bug, folks. And everybody in the South knows what a tumble bug is. They worshipped a tumble bug as God. And so when they worshipped all kind of animals. And when God got ready to bring Israel out of Egypt, you know what he done? He told them to keep the Passover and bring a lamb. And so here, that's another one of their things they worshipped. And so the Egyptians looked at Israel, and Israel is eating their God. I should have told them something right there, but it didn't. But God always destroys the idol gods when he begins to move. And those who sees no evil today in killing the unborn folks and who believe that they control the environment are caught in the same religious spirit as Israel was. Now, it always gets me. We got to save the planet, so give me your money and I'll save the planet. And, several years ago, Al Gore said, take a picture of the snow because there won't be any more. And the ice caps by now are supposed to be melted. And the coast is supposed to be overflowed. And the same people that tell me, if you'll give me your money, we can save the planet, we'll buy multi-million-dollar houses on the coast. You think they really believe it? But no, it's that spirit of Baal, folks, and sin will make you stupid, and then it'll destroy you. And that's exactly what's happening, folks. The spirit of Baal has awakened, and he still demands children's sacrifice, and he still demands that man believe that he can save the planet, not God. Let me tell you something, folks. I don't know of anybody that don't want clean air, do you? You know, anybody just says, I'm against clean water? I don't know of anybody. And we should take care of what God has given us. But when it gets to the place where we make it a God, it's the same spirit that they had in those days. No, folks, you and I will never be God. And you and I is never going to control what God has set up. He didn't send us here he put us in dominion here. But you know what? He didn't say, I'm going to give you my place. The devil tried that one time, and look how it turned out for him. But see, Elijah was taken alive. Remember that story? He went up in a whirlwind. He was taken. God took him alive. But the prophet Malachi, I believe it was, said this: "Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the great and dreadful day of the Lord." And Jesus said that John the Baptist filled that Elijah's role at his first coming. But in Revelation 11, we see Elijah returning again. And when he gets here, you know what he does? He has power to shut up the heaven that it rain not, and to smite the earth with curse. See, again, here we go again. Elijah's coming again before Jesus comes back to rule and reign. And what he will do when he gets here is to show these folks that, hey, worshiping the spirit of Baal can't bring you rain. It can't change the environment. But anytime, folks, again, let me say it again so we get that in our mind. Anytime you see a sudden shift in man's thinking and behavior, there's a spirit working. There's a spirit working. And when you look at America now, for all these years, now look, folks, I'm 750 years old. And all my life, I saw people, the people who was around me, had this idea: you need to work for your own living. I mean, people had a work ethic. Hey, they believed that you were supposed to work, Brother Bliss. But now, have you the one that's leading the Democratic Party's nomination for president is a socialist who is saying, let me give it to you free. It's a shift in the way of we thinking, folks. It's a shift. Hey, there's a spirit at work. There's a spirit at work. And we better get back to the Lord. But Elijah is coming, and he will shut up again, destroy the spirit of Baal. They've trotted out the children. It breaks my heart when I see the little girl Greta. What's her name? Greta? Anybody knows her? You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, she'll say, you destroyed my childhood. Let's do something to save the planet. I tell you what, if you want to save the planet, get right with Jesus, because he's going to make a new one. He's going to make, behold, I make all things new. Like I say, if you read Revelation, you'll find out man does not save the planet. We need to do what we know to do to protect the things that God has given us, but not to the point to where we forget it's God that's doing it. And see, that the temple of Baal has been raised up in America, just like it was raised up in Israel. So in America, we call them abortion clinics, and we call them environmental organizations. But they're nothing more than the spirit of Baal working in America. Let's do it. Let us control everything. Let's move God out of the way. You know, Isaiah said they said we are lords. We will no longer come to you because we are lords. Folks, no, we're not lords. He didn't leave us here to be lords. He's Lord. But make no mistake, folks. Anybody that can take a child born alive and just laying it on a steel, told him on a steel table, close the door and let him die. It's a religion. It's a spirit. It's a sacrifice to a bloodthirsty God. And it's alive and well in America. And I guarantee you, Christians, instead of teaching against this kind of stuff, teaches toleration. I don't know about you, but I don't think I ever found toleration in my Bible. Jesus said we were the light of the world. What light's supposed to do? It's supposed to shine on the darkness and expose it for what it is. But when all this started, folks, the churches grew silent. The message coming out of the churches was not, hey, you're killing human beings and it's demonic. That was not it. The message coming out when the homosexual movement started was not, hey, it's a sin that'll kill you. It's what brought the fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. But now it's accepted. And am I saying all homosexuals are bad people? No. There's some good people, but they're deceived people. And let me tell you something, folks. Sin will destroy them. Sin will destroy them. Are we supposed to hate the homosexual? Absolutely not. I wish they'd all come here and let me love on them. Let me tell them that Jesus can bring salvation into their life. The other day, to show you how accepted it is, the other day I heard Pete Buttigieg, is that his name? He said, how in the world can Americans look their children in the eye and explain Trump? He said he just didn't fit the standard of being Christian. And do I think Trump's Christian? No, I don't. No, I certainly don't. But I think he's been good for this country. But I don't think Pete is the one to be lecturing us on who is Christian and who's not. But again, we've accepted all that. We've accepted sin as normal. We have, folks. I remember a time when the society really expected you to be married before you started having kids. Can anybody remember that? Now, and I'm not knocking these little girls that gets out here and messes up and gets pregnant. I'm not. But I'm saying this, folks. We do not need to be upholding the things that God has said is against against His word, folks. We do not need to be going along to be tolerant just for being tolerant. And you've heard me talk about sweet Christians. That's what we've got. We've got to be too sweet. Now, I ain't talking about being good to people. We're supposed to be good to people. We're supposed to love people. But this sweet Christian spirit is nothing again but the spirit of Baal saying, hey, you do whatever you want to. God's going to love you. Yes, He is. He loved us while we were all sinners. But let me tell you something, folks. He didn't love us past the point where that He's going to excuse our sin. If He was going to do that, Jesus never would have come and died on that cross. He died so that we could be free from sin, folks. But we're living in a time when that spirit of the idol God has rose up in America. And judgment's coming. Jot that down. Now, that's one thing you can tell folks that Jerry told you. Judgment is coming, and it's coming quickly. God is a God of mercy. He certainly is. But the blood of the innocents is crying out to Him. You remember when Cain killed Abel? And he said, the blood of thy brother is crying out to me. And one thing that, I believe it's in Proverbs 6, that it says that God hates is the shedding of innocent blood. And hey, there's nothing more innocent than a baby. Nothing. But we've embraced the spirit of a pagan god and have left out the spirit of life. There's just two spirits working in this creation today, folks. That's the spirit of life and the spirit of death. And we have embraced as a nation the spirit of death and rejected the spirit of life. Now, if the world mocks, if you begin to tell them about the Bible, what the Bible says, they mock this as a book of Jewish fables, but they will accept this spirit that is growing stronger and stronger as the right way to go. But you know what the Bible tells me? I will not be mocked. And so they're mocking, and He said, I won't be mocked. So what does that tell you? That tells you, folks, we're knocking on the door of judgment, and judgment will come. It's going to fall. And we've gone so far, some of y'all may have heard this. A few weeks ago, some on the left was saying, we got to shut down the cattle industry because cattle are passing gas and destroying the environment. We got to shut down the cattle industry. We got to shut down the chicken industry. We got to shut down the hog industry. We might ought to start eating the unborn babies to keep protein on the ones that's left. Hey, folks, I'm not making this up. It was news. We might ought to start eating the baby stuff so we have enough protein. Folks, you don't think that's demonic? Folks, that's more than demonic. And that's where we have come. That's where we have come. But see, all of that, folks, is saying the God that created it didn't really know what he was doing. You know, there was a time that there was buffalo in this country that they had said would go for days. You couldn't, the train couldn't, that's the reason they killed them. The trains couldn't even cross the buffalo. There was so many buffaloes, they'd just run for days across where the train was trying to go. No global warming. But to see what sin will do to you, the same people who will tell you that we're causing the planet to heat up, we're going to have to throw money at it or it's going to kill us all, will tell you that there used to be an ice age. Same people. What melted the ice? Where did the water go? Folks, God has your answer. Baal has the answer that's going to lead people to death, and he's leading us that way. But see, by now there's not supposed to be any snow, and by now there wasn't supposed to be any coastline left. The ice cap should have been gone. But Baal is no God, just like he was at that time. He's no God. He's just a spirit. He's a demonic spirit that people has embraced. But Elijah's coming. Elijah's coming. We ought to all be raising up in the spirit of Elijah and saying we're not going to endorse this. We're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to vote for anybody that does. I saw an advertisement here a while back. It was for somebody running for Senate, I believe it was, and he was on the Democrat Party. And I'm not trying to be political, but I said, hey, I don't vote for folks that believes it's all right to kill unborn babies. They said, well, we got more things than just abortion. Well, no, if you say you believe in killing the baby, you've ended it for me. You have ended it. Because the same spirit that will tell you it's all right to kill a baby will also tell you it's all right to kill anything that's in the way of your agenda. And we talked about it Thursday night, folks. First the babies, next the old folks. It's coming just as sure as you live and breathe. Bloomberg already said, I saw his speech that he made here a while back, and where he said that America wasn't ready for it yet, but we could no longer continue to throw money at people who were old to start with. We had to spend that money on insurance for people who were young. Said if somebody come in, already lived a good long life and was had something that's going to kill him anyway, we didn't need to be spending money on him. Just say, enjoy the rest of your life and go on. Folks, that's a demonic spirit. When we start determining who's going to live and who's going to die, that ain't God. That ain't God. But we're living in an age, and we better wake up. And Baal has built his altars across America, and abortion clinics, like I said, and he's rabid environmentalist. And sometimes, and I know, probably you felt that way too, sometimes you look around and it seems like nobody cares anyway. Why should we try? Nobody cares. Do you know Elijah felt that same way? He said, Lord, they done destroyed all your altars and your prophets are all dead. I mean, he got to that place where he said, don't look like I'm doing anything. But well, what he did, he killed those prophets of Baal, and then Jezebel, the queen, said, I'm going to kill you, and it scared him. He saw what God had done, but as soon as Jezebel said, I'm going to kill you, hey, his strength left him, and he ran. And but he felt like he was by himself, folks. But the Lord said, I've got 7,000 you don't even know about, still on my side. I got 7,000 that hadn't bowed their knee. And folks, when you get to thinking you're the only one that cares anymore, look around and know that God's got his people, and God's going to have the people. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a church going out of here without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. Now, whether you and I is in it or not, all depends on what we do. Because Jesus is not willing that any should perish. Those in Christ will go when the trumpet sounds. Those outside will still be here, and they will be here under the judgment of the Baal spirit that's working right now. And folks, I posted it yesterday on Facebook. As you read Revelation about the government of the Antichrist, It's a dictatorial socialist government. Socialist. Where the government decides what you can have and what you can't have. And do you see that spirit moving? See, that spirit's already moving. And it's a spirit, folks. It's working on people's mind, and it's preparing the way for a man that's coming. And see, a lot of folks that sees what the Trump has done for the nation, what his policies has brought to the nation, the jobs and all this, they say, well, he'll get elected by a landslide. Maybe. Maybe not. We don't need to rest because, like I said, the end-time government is a socialist dictatorship, and we see that spirit working, folks. We see it working. And it's a strong spirit. And I don't really see, and I'm going to say this, I don't see how that the globalists can allow Trump to win another term. I don't see how it can happen. They'll go to any lengths to stop it. And so you need to pray for the president. We need to pray God's angels around him, folks, because if you think people who don't see anything wrong with killing a baby will see anything wrong with killing the president, then you're thinking wrong, because they won't. They won't. And if they, and the Islamic people, you see where Iran put out in media, I forgot what it was now, $80, $90 million bounty on his head after he killed the terrorist over there. So that's that spirit of destruction. That's that spirit of death. And it's coming in America, folks. It's coming in America. And I challenge us this morning to really look at things that's happening around us and compare them to what this book said. Because it's like I say, this is a living word, folks. The devil hadn't surprised God. And I know that's supposed to be the most frustrating thing in the world to him. Because everything he tries to pull, God's already got it documented. If he could just get people in there looking and seeing and saying, oh, I realize what that is. But so many is not. They've rejected the truth and embraced the lie. But folks, the Spirit of Baal is alive and well in America today. We don't have a statue that we put the babies in to let them roll down into a stomach of fire, but people are still sacrificing their babies and calling it a choice. No, we have a choice before he gets here. But when he becomes a baby, folks, it's not a choice, it's a life. It's a life. And we have no right to kill a baby. And see, that's been going on now. When was it? Back in the 70s when Roe versus Wade passed? And I'm going to tell you something else. See, that was that spirit beginning to move. Look in your Constitution and see if you can find anywhere in the Constitution where it says it's all right for you to kill a baby if you don't want it. Look in there. But the Supreme Court ruled, and they're supposed to be just upholding the Constitution. They ruled in Roe versus Wade that a woman had a right to do that. They made that law. What did that? The spirit of this demonic God, the bloodthirsty, he's a bloodthirsty God. And he still is, folks. He still is. He demands human sacrifice. Islam, folks, serving Allah, but you know what? It's the same God. It's the same God. And we say, hey, I hear Christians talking, well, they're good people. Some of them probably are, but they're deceived people. They're deceived people. And hey, they don't kill their own babies, but they'll kill yours in the name of their God. Folks, it's time that we drew the line in the sand and got on the right side. It's time that we did as Elijah said, if God is God, let's follow him. And it's more than coming to church on Sunday. It's more than coming to Bible study on midweek. It's a commitment to whatever he says. That's what I'm going to do, whether it's popular or not. It's an everyday commitment to him. It's a commitment that will not allow us to be silent in the face of evil. See, like I said, the Lord didn't tell the church that they were the sugar of the earth. He said that you were the salt. You know what salt does? Salt not only preserves, it changes the taste of everything. I can tell you, since I've had this stroke and had to come off of salt, when salt is gone, you miss it. But salt will change the taste of everything you put it on. You can put salt on ice cream and it won't make, the ice cream won't make the salt taste like ice cream. The ice cream will taste like salt. Folks, we're supposed to be changing some stuff. As the salt of the earth, we're supposed to be changing stuff. We're not supposed to be silent in the face of evil just for the, and I see this among Christians. Just the other day I saw where somebody posted, said, it's better to keep the peace sometimes than be right. No, it's not. It's not, because there is no peace outside of the peace that Jesus left here. There's just deception. And for us to agree with somebody just to be, hey, so he'll like us, folks, that's the spirit of Baal. We have to stand up in these last days and be more than just somebody that goes to church. We have to be the church. We have to be. We need to pray for that fire of Elijah to start again in us. In us. Lord, send us the fire. Send us the fire. And send us revival. Let us be the start of a revival that breaks out and shakes this community. Shakes this community. See? And unity and faith is the way to get it done. I guarantee you can get in your car and drive through Mumford, and you won't, just around Mumford, and you won't drive 5 miles till you'll see a dozen churches. And we got folks lost in Mumford. Lost as Moody's goose. I don't know how lost he was, but I always heard he was pretty lost. But we got churches everywhere. But in the early days, when Jesus anointed the church before he left, folks, 120 people turned the whole known world upside down. They did. I mean, they spread the gospel of Christ everywhere. People were healed. Thousands were added in a day to the church. Now, we can't get one. What happened? It's because we compromised and got on the fence, because we didn't want to upset anybody. Well, the truth upsets folks. It upset people in Jesus' day. Jesus had 120 to come to that upper room. Just 120 after 3.5 years of teaching. 120. But folks, those 120 had some power. And they turned the world upside down. Now we've got, I ain't no telling how many people in this area, if you ask them, they'll say, I'm Christian. Well, why we got so many folks lost? See, we need the power back in the church. We need the Elijah fire burning in me and you. It's got to start with us. We can't say you started. We got to say, Lord, as Isaiah said, here am I, send me. You know, the Lord asked Isaiah one time, he said, who shall I send? And Isaiah said, just send me. You know, in the spirit that we're in today, if the Lord says, who shall I send? We say, send them. I mean, I heard Jesse Duplantis say one time that the Lord began to move in his spirit about going to Africa. And he said, Lord, I don't even like the food they eat over there. How about sending Jerry Travail? So I think that's the way we get sometimes. All right, I know there's a need there, but how about sending them? But no, we have to step forward, folks, and say, here am I, send me. And people say, well, what can I do? And I'll tell you, you can do the same thing that I can do and everybody else can do. Nothing without Jesus. Nothing without Jesus. With him, nothing is impossible. So let's recognize where we're at in time. Let's recognize this spirit. And I'm not talking about going out with a hateful spirit and these people who has aborted their children just saying, hey, you go die and go to hell. No, tell them that Jesus died to bring them to him. Hey, and like I said, abortion is a sin. It's murder. Can I just say that? I think I just did. It's murder. So we can't tolerate murder. But we can love on those folks and let them realize that it is murder. We can't go along with all this sexual immorality and say, hey, it's fine. But we can love on those folks and show them a way out, see? And let them know that there is a Savior that loves them in their sin. But we've got so many folks now, and I'm not trying to be judgmental or up here critical on everything, but we've got so many preachers in the pulpit that is confessing that they're still sinning every day. And folks sit back and say, well, I'll just sin my way, you sin yours. If there is no Jesus if there's no change in your life, it's because there's been no Jesus in your life. And I posted yesterday, because folks don't think about it this way. What if I got up here this morning and said, I'm still lying every day. I'm still cheating every day. I'm still committing adultery every day. Would y'all be back next Sunday to listen to me? But a preacher would get behind the pulpit and say, I'm sinning every day, and they'll just flock right back. But I always tell folks this, and I'm gonna hush. If a man tells me he's still sinning every day, it's blocked me right then, because, hey, lying is sinning. And, hey, he might be wanting to tell me a lie. If he's still in sin every day, hey, he might be lying. That might be his sin. And I told you the story about the deacon when I was working at Newberry. He got talking to me about I asked him how many kids he had, and he told me how many kids he had at home and how many outside children he had. I said, what? He said, outside children. He said, me and my girlfriend's got 3. I said, you're a deacon and you're out there raising kids with a woman, not your wife? He said, oh yeah, we all sin, and that's just what I do. He just picked him out one he liked. Folks, all sin will kill you. All sin will destroy you and destroy your relationship with God. It'll do it. Baal says, go ahead and do it. God says, come to me and let me show you the way of life. And this morning, he's calling us into the way of life. Life more abundantly. More abundantly. I want some of that, don't you? I want more abundantly. I remember a time when, people thought, hey, it was, an act of humbleness, saying, well, I've got enough, Lord. No, I want everything God said I can have. I'm fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not lacking in anything. But if God said I could have it, I want it. And we ought to be, when we get in that book and see what God said we could have, we ought to never give up. We ought to be like little kids. Jesus said we ought to accept him as little children. And we ought to press every day. If it's not in my hand, Lord, you said I could have it, I'm looking for it. I remember my mom used to get on me, because once I got my mind made up, I'd ask her 100 times a day. If she ever said I could have something, I wanted her to go get it then. I have been threatened a bunch of times. If you say that one more time, I'm going to wear you out. Because once she told me, hey, I was looking for it. I was looking for it. And that's the way we ought to be with God. He has told us what we could have. And he loves us. We ought to be looking for it. It doesn't bother God for us to expect what he said we could have. It doesn't bother him if we expect it. So this morning, folks, there's 2 spirits working. One spirit's working towards your death. One spirit's working towards your life. Which one will you choose? I hope we've always made the right choice. But if we hadn't, this is a good time to do it. Because the same God that sent Elijah to the people in 1 Kings 18 is going to send Elijah back again just before Christ comes to rule and reign. But folks, we need to be gone by then. We need to be when Elijah comes and smites the earth with a curse again. Folks, we need to be gone. But when that trumpet sounds, if we're not ready to hear it, we're not going. We're not going. I had a fellow tell me one time, I don't believe in the rapture, but if it happens, I'll go. Because I'm not, no, that's like saying, I believe it. I don't believe in following Jesus, but hey, he's going to take me to heaven. No. You have to. Hey, this is a roadmap, folks. It's a living word and it's a roadmap. He didn't give it to us just. And I told a fellow one time, all of it's important to us. If God could have told us everything he wanted us to know on a book that big, that's how big our Bible would be, that big. He didn't put this in there. He didn't inspire this, folks, just to be wasting time and our time. All of it's important. And we need to get back in this book, back on our knees, back determined. If you're here this morning and you're saved, but you know that you've backed up, it's time to move up. It's time to get off the fence and let's serve God. Let's choose whom we're going to serve.